When I signed the closing papers, I felt their voices echoing in my mind. You wouldn't understand. You're not like us. I could practically hear their laughter ricochet off the walls of that sterile conference room as I slid the pen back into the velvet case. They thought I was too soft, too uncertain, too different. They didn't know me. They didn't know what I was capable of. When I walked out of that room clutching the keys to the old Jefferson Hall and realized, for the first time, I owned the place where we all once vowed never to return, I smiled. A slow, deliberate curl of my lips. The reunion they planned for autumn would be the last laugh they'd get. I remember the first time I saw Jefferson Hall, half hidden behind a row of dying magnolia trees on Maple Avenue. Its windows were shattered, its mahogany doors warped by weather and neglect, and the paint peeled like sunburned skin. Friends drove by and shook their heads. What do you want with that wreck? But I saw something different, a chance to rewrite my story in that grand old building, built by our grandparents, the very place our class had once claimed as ours. They said we'd never be that close again. They said people change. They said I'd moved on, that the hall no longer mattered to me. I was determined to prove them wrong. I grew up in that small town. The girl who read too much and spoke too little, who spent weekends with my head buried in novels while everyone else chased pickup games in the dusty lot behind the school. At the senior mixer, I lingered by the punch bowl, more interested in the lyrics of a song than in dancing, until they pulled me onto the floor just to mock my awkward moves. They whispered in my ear, "You're not one of us." And I believed them until today. Today, I would be the one holding the invitations. The purchase was impulsive, irrational, a high-wire act with no safety net. My savings came from years of after-school shifts at the library, late-night freelance edits, and a surprise inheritance from Aunt Leona, she who always believed in my stories, even when my parents called them fantasies. When I saw the listing for Jefferson Hall, I hesitated for only a heartbeat. The price was far below market. The previous owner had left town, convinced the place was haunted by memories no one wanted. I could almost taste the risk, feel the electricity of possibility crackling through the stale air of that forsaken landmark. I made an offer that afternoon, sight unseen, and promised myself I would restore it. Somehow, I would turn that crumbling relic into the stage for a reunion no one would forget. On the day I took possession, I drove down Maple Avenue in my aging sedan, gravel kicking up behind me. The sky was the sharp blue of late summer, and a breeze tugged at the hem of my dress as I stepped onto the cracked stone steps. I ran my fingers over the tarnished brass handle and pushed. The door gave way with a groan that sounded almost like a welcome. Inside, dust motes danced in slanted shafts of light, and I inhaled the scent of old wood, mildew, and something faintly floral, maybe ghosts of the ballroom's lavender-scented candles. I closed my eyes and imagined the chandeliers gleaming, tables set with white linens, laughter filling the air. I had not come to be a spectator anymore. The first month was brutal. I wrestled with tangled vines that strangled the exterior walls, scrubbed layers of grime from the marble floors, and stripped decades of faded wallpaper that clung like cobwebs. I learned to repair water-damaged molding and discovered the joy of sanding down splintered banisters until they were smooth enough to reflect my face in their varnish. Neighbors watched from behind curtains as the hall slowly resurrected itself. Some tipped their hats in respect. Others crossed the street to avoid meeting my gaze. I imagined they all doubted me, that they thought my ambitions were as hollow as the empty rooms within those walls. Late one night, I found an old ledger in the basement, its leather cover brittle and its pages yellowed. Inside were lists of vendors, catering bills, and guest rosters dating back nearly a century. I traced calligraphy names with my fingertips: Margaret H. Tilson, Robert J. Ellis, Charlotte and Henry Monroe. I pictured them dancing under the flicker of candlelight, swirling in gowns and tuxedos, sharing confidences and stolen glances. And I felt connected to something larger than my own small doubts. I realized Jefferson Hall was more than bricks and mortar. It was a vessel for stories, for moments that mattered. My story would join theirs. When the invitations went out, I designed them myself, embossing the hall's elegant crest in deep plum ink. I sent one to each member of the class of 2012. I addressed them in names I had almost forgotten. The quarterback who never returned my smile. The girl who held a grudge because I beat her in English class. The clique that crowned itself queen and king of popularity. I wrote beneath the crest, "You're invited to the Jefferson Hall reunion. October 19th, 7 p.m. Dressed to impress." I pressed each envelope shut, letting the flap seal with finality. No return address, no hints of my own journey, just a summons to a night they would not expect. Now, with 2 months until the reunion, I walk these halls every morning before sunrise, lamp in hand, recording drafts of my speech for the big night. I practice my lines where once I watched from the sidelines, counting the cracks in the ceiling and envisioning the moment they step through the doors. I wonder what they'll say when they see me here in command, confident, the owner of dreams they dismissed. I wonder if they will recognize the girl they mocked or if they will only see the woman who dared to reclaim her past. This is where my story truly begins. On the brink of an autumn evening, under fading leaves and shattered expectations, where I stand ready to confront memories and triumph over doubt. They said you wouldn't understand. You're not like us, so I bought the reunion venue. And now, I finally understand the power of being different. Morning light filters through the repaired stained glass transom windows as I unlock the front doors of Jefferson Hall. The air smells of fresh paint and varnished oak, and for a moment I pause on the threshold, listening to the hollow echo of my footsteps as I cross the marble foyer. 2 months remain until the reunion, and every day feels like a countdown I both dread and crave. I begin by checking my calendar, taped to the wall beside the ticketing desk I installed last week. Next to the handwritten notes detailing lighting cues, I scribbled Jonah in red ink. He's the event coordinator I hired once, a classmate who barely noticed me in school. Now he's here because he needs a second chance as much as I do. Jonah arrives at 9:30 with a battered carpenter's belt still clinging to his hips and an apologetic smile. His eyes flicker over the polished floors and the newly installed chandeliers, and I watch his face as he takes in the transformation. He clears his throat and says, "I didn't know you had it in you." The words sting for a second, proof that old perceptions die hard, but I smile back. "You'll be surprised what people can accomplish when they're underestimated," I tell him, and the corners of his mouth lift. He's grown quieter since our high school days, more thoughtful, and perhaps wiser. I decide to trust him with the swing band I've booked for October 19th. Their vintage jazz sound promising to evoke the spirit of the original Jefferson Hall dances. While Jonah sketches lighting schemes, I retreat to the ballroom to test the acoustics. Standing at the center, I close my eyes and imagine the honking of trumpets, the clarinet's sweet wail, and the low hum of conversations as classmates rediscover each other after years apart. My fingers brush the dusty dust cover I haven't yet removed from the grand piano in the corner. I remember the day I dared to press a single key during a prom rehearsal, only to be met with laughter. This time, I want those keys to fill every inch of this room with music they can't mock. Outside, the scaffolding towers as workers replace broken roof tiles. Rain threatened this week, but the crew has finished ahead of schedule. I greet each man and woman by name: Carlos, the roofer whose daughter I taught to read; Priya, the electrician who gifted me a soldering iron when I was 10; Marcus, the landscaper who remembers me as the quiet girl who collected wildflowers on summer days. Their faces light up at my acknowledgement, and I feel something shift inside me, a sense of belonging that isn't tied to old cliques or hurtful words. It's a new community bound by sweat and dedication, and it reminds me that I'm not the same person they once dismissed. That afternoon, I ride into town to meet the florist at her shop on Main Street. The doorbell chimes as I enter, and the scent of roses and eucalyptus welcomes me. Samantha, who played saxophone at our graduation ceremony, now arranges bouquets for weddings and corporate events. She smiles when she sees me. "You're doing this," she says simply, as if I needed reminding. I hand her a stack of fabric swatches for table runners and napkin ties, deep plum, charcoal gray, and cream colors I chose to reflect the halls. elegance. We discuss centerpieces that incorporate magnolia branches, tying the building's history to its present revival. Every arrangement she creates feels like an affirmation that this place matters, that my vision can blossom. Back at Jefferson Hall, I check the guest list once more. Names shuffle around in my mind. The class president, now a small-town mayor. The star athlete, married with 3 kids. The drama queen whose icy glare haunted my freshman year. I mark their RSVP statuses. Yes. Maybe. No response. For those who decline, I wonder what keeps them away. Fear of facing the past? Indifference? I steel myself against disappointment, reminding myself that this isn't about them. It's about me rewriting my narrative with every nail driven, every chord struck, every invitation sent. As dusk falls, I light the sconces along the main corridor and test the dimmer switches. The soft glow reveals the intricate plasterwork on the walls, the graceful curve of each archway. I imagine myself greeting guests here, offering them a glass of champagne as they step inside. My heart flutters at the thought of standing before them in a fitted navy suit, delivering a welcome speech I've practiced countless times. I vow to speak clearly, to let them hear every inflection of confidence I've earned through days of labor and nights of planning. In the basement, I discover a loose floorboard hiding a dusty silver locket engraved with initials I don't recognize. My pulse quickens as I pry it free. Inside is a sepia-toned photograph of 2 young women dancing arm in arm. I study their faces, the joy in their eyes, and I feel a kinship with these strangers from another era. I imagine they too had dreams tied to this hall, dreams of connection, celebration, maybe even love. I slid the locket into my jacket pocket, a talisman for the night to come. That evening, I sit at the edge of the stage, my laptop open to the program I've drafted. I rehearse the order of events: welcome speech, toast, swing band performance, slideshow of yearbook photos, dance floor open. Every detail is deliberate, each moment designed to evoke surprise and nostalgia. My fingers hover over the keys as I type the final notes, my breath catching at the memory of their voices. You wouldn't understand. You're not like us. Tonight. Those words don't haunt me, they propel me forward. I lock up and walk down Maple Avenue under a sky roiling with purple and gold. The old magnolias cast long shadows on the sidewalk, and I pause to touch a withered blossom clinging to a branch. I whisper to it, thanking it for surviving another season. I whisper to myself, thanking the girl who once cowered by the punch bowl for giving me the strength to stand here now. Tomorrow I'll return at dawn, ready to paint the ballroom walls, hang the banners, and lay the red carpet. Every action I take inches me closer to that autumn evening when they'll step across this threshold and find me waiting. This is part 2 of my story, and the best and most surprising moments are still to come. I rise before sunrise on the morning of October 19th, my heart racing as the first gray light seeps through the curtains. I dress in a tailored navy suit that feels like armor, fastening each button with deliberate care. My reflection in the bedroom mirror looks composed, confident, nothing like the girl who cowered at the edges of every social gathering. Yet inside, I'm a bundle of nerves and excitement, every thought focused on the evening's promise. Today, I claim my moment. I arrive at Jefferson Hall just as the sky shifts from slate gray to pale blue. The front doors stand open, welcoming a final wave of contractors and decorators who hustle in with last-minute supplies. I oversee the placement of magnolia garlands along the balustrades and the polishing of crystal candlesticks that line the grand staircase. My hands move swiftly, directing the crew with crisp instructions. I catch myself smiling as the hall transforms into a scene of elegant anticipation. By mid-afternoon, the florals are in place and the tables dressed in plum linens and cream napkins. The swing band's instruments gleam under the stage lights, and I test the microphone one last time, listening to my voice echo through the ballroom. Every detail feels rehearsed and perfect. I review my speech in my mind, pausing to breathe deeply whenever doubt creeps in. This night is a declaration. I have endured. I have built, and now I will stand before the people who said I didn't belong. As guests begin to arrive, I station myself at the entrance with a glass of champagne in hand. faces from my past file. In under the glow of chandeliers, the small town mayor, the widowed art teacher, the quarterback with a shy smile. Some glance at me with polite recognition, others with curiosity. My pulse quickens when I spot the girl who mocked my piano playing at prom, now in an elegant black dress. She pauses, surprised, and our eyes meet. I nod and offer her a seat. When the hall reaches capacity, I step onto the raised platform and the room hushes. I raise my glass, fingers trembling slightly, and clear my throat. Welcome back to Jefferson Hall, I begin, voice steadying with each word. Tonight marks not just a reunion of classmates, but a celebration of the journeys we've all taken. I speak of shared memories, of lessons learned, and of the power of forgiveness. I see nods around the room, smiles softening, and I realize they are listening not to the shy girl they once dismissed, but to the woman who reclaimed this place after my speech. Jonah cues the band, and the first notes of a swinging trumpet fill the air. Couples drift onto the dance floor, hesitant at first, then lost in melody. I watch them dance, and I feel a warmth spread through me. Every corner of the hall glows with laughter and conversation. Old grudges soften under the music's spell. I sidle up to the piano and lift its dust cover, revealing ivory keys that gleam like promises. I press a single chord and the band pauses, then follows my lead in a playful improvisation. In the midst of the waltz, I spot the locket I found in the basement around my neck, its engraved initials catching the chandelier light. I hold it between two fingers and slip it open, revealing the photograph of two smiling women. I whisper their names into the soft music, imagining the life they once led here. Slowly, I raise the locket high above my head. The band quiets and the dancers freeze, eyes turning toward me in curious expectation. I let the moment stretch until every face in the hall is fixed upon my gesture. Then I speak softly into the microphone. This locket belonged to classmates who came before us. They danced these floors with hopes and dreams, just as we do tonight. Our time here is fleeting, but our memories endure. A ripple of emotion passes through the room. Eyes glisten as people recognize the weight of those words. I tuck the locket back into my suit pocket and smile, feeling a bond stronger than any old hierarchy. We are connected by these shared spaces and moments. Later, the projector hums to life, casting yearbook photos onto a cream-colored screen. I watch as awkward freshman portraits morph into prom night snapshots, then to present day faces illuminated by soft light. Laughter and murmurs fill the hall as we celebrate how far we've come. I catch the eye of the former drama queen, whose countenance softens as she nods in acknowledgement. Across the room, the quarterback raises his glass in salute. In that instant, I sense a shift. We're no longer defined by past roles but by the people we've become. As the final song fades and the candles gutter low, I walk through the hall one last time. The guests linger in clusters, sharing hugs and promises to stay in touch. I overhear someone say, "I never knew she had it in her." I smile to myself. I remember their taunts. "You wouldn't understand. You're not like us." Now I understand more than they ever will the power of resilience, of vision, of daring to transform rejection into triumph. I step out into the cool autumn air after midnight, the hall glowing warmly behind me. The magnolia trees stand sentinel under a blanket of stars. My breath clouds in the night as I inhale the scent of fall and magnolias. I feel the weight of the locket against my chest and press a hand to its spot. I whisper a silent promise to the hall and to myself. This is only the beginning. They said I wouldn't understand. Tonight, I proved I understand everything.